Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sir Tommy P., Defender of the Faith.
And I am Empress Emily M.
And we are the Nephilim Murder Crew. And joining us today is StacksFarmstead. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Well, my name's Jason, and you could call me, a lot of people call me Stack or Stacks, but whatever, I don't really care.
Stacks
A lot
works.
of people call me
Stacks
asshole
was,
as well.
yes. we were going to go with Stacks, to be honest with you. So yeah, tell everybody what you're here for.
I mean, I don't know what I'm here for, but I mean, if you want to have a talk, if you want to get to know me a little bit, I guess that's okay. But I mean, I don't know. I just figured, what the hell?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing we want to talk and get to know you and get to know what you're about. We know you have a YouTube channel and a Twitter or X page with lots of good information on there, by the way. I really dig your sawmill. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I really dig your sawmill.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Most people don't know this. We live in Illinois. Most people know we live in Illinois. Yeah. But before we moved here, we lived in New Jersey, and I had my house for sale, and it was under contract. And we were under contract on 22 acres in Oklahoma. Nice 3-bedroom house, 22 acres, had a 2-acre stocked pond on it. But yeah, we were gonna have goats and chickens, and eventually, I think we plan on doing like maybe two head of cattle at some point. Just something small, you're not gonna do much on 22 acres, to be honest, when it comes to cattle and stuff. But yeah, we were basically planning the farmstead. And then in the middle of all that move, I got a phone call out of the blue from a company that I'd never heard of for a job that I never applied for here in Illinois. And it was just like, it was too good to pass up. It was my dream job, as I always wanted to do. So we got out of the contract in Oklahoma, finished a sale on our house in New Jersey, and moved to Illinois. So farmsteading is something I'm extremely interested in because we were planning on doing it.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this is like, just for like a little bit of a quick background. It's part of my ex bio too, is that like, I'm originally from the city. We grew up always going out to the woods and being in the woods, but I grew up in the city. I was a city kid. And I mean, a city kid. Like, I mean, I got all the trouble that, you can imagine and some more.
Right.
And, like, to be honest, if you want, like, I could give you some, let me put it this way. I have, an attorney friend of mine, which I did an interview with last year about my life story. And, he thinks that we should write a book. Like, he really thinks that it's that crazy.
You should.
Go for it.
Yeah.
There's there's a bunch of worse books out there, buddy. Don't let the fear of trying stop you.
It's all kinds of crazy stuff is my point. What brought me to trying to do this. So like, even with you, like wanting to get into this, like before I did this, I never tried it before.
Yeah.
Never. I never even lived in the city that I'm in now until the house was up for sale and I could buy it with cash. So like that, it was cheap. Like living in Pittsburgh, you're going in debt for $500,000 for any house.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing that.
No, not gonna be
Move
me.
out to the sticks, right? I mean, it's crazy. You don't get anything. You get a house, you barely get a backyard. There's nowhere to park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why in the hell would you want to pay $500,000 for that?
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be me.
But I mean, so I found the house. My girlfriend, my wife now at the time, was pregnant and it needed some work. So I just bought it because I could. Like, it was cash and we needed a place. We were going to start a family and I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I mean, I'm just jumping in.
It hasn't gone wrong yet.
Well, I can tell you, I wasn't a city kid. I was a suburb kid. But for the 20 years I lived in Washington State, I lived right on the border of the edge of the suburbs and the country, and a lot of friends in the country. So I can tell you are pretty good with that sawmill, buddy. For a guy who's not sure what he's doing. I've seen some videos and I'm like, man, you'd think you've been doing it your whole life.
It's I mean, it's fun. That's the crazy part, is that like, it really is. The mill itself is one of the cheaper ones, but it makes it easy. Like, it's not really just using your head. If you can think it through, like, you can make some pretty cool stuff. The biggest thing I learned is the wood, like the different types of wood and how they react whenever, there's different times you can mill certain kinds of wood.
Yeah, you gotta let them age, right?
Here, I'll give you an example, something that I learned. So when you see like a tree, there's a trunk, obviously, and then there's branches that come off, right? If you try to mill those branches, especially the ones that are out, real far, as soon as you mill it, it's going to bend.
Okay.
And the reason is because that branch has been learning to keep the weight since it was a little twig, right? So the middle, like when you look at the rings on a tree, there's little rings in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And as it ages, it goes out. So that ring is towards the bottom for strength instead of being in the middle.
In the middle, right? Yeah.
So when you go to cut it, it's going to go, like it looks like a bow.
Yeah.
And
as soon as you said it, I was like, that makes sense.
Trial and error. Like you just don't, you don't know. And then you just like do a little bit of research. Like, why does this piece look like a bow? You know what I mean? So but again, like that's all stuff, learning along the way, and it makes it fun. So, I mean, like the sawmills are really, it's not super expensive. I think I paid like $3,500 for it. And we use it as like, the business stuff. So, we could just write it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you just continue to do that, was another thing that I learned about filing LLC, dude, for real. Like, I don't want to get into your business or anything, but like, if you start making revenue, you file an LLC, it's like a couple $100 online.
Yeah.
You file an LLC in the state that you're in, and you can write off everything that you're putting into that.
Yeah, buddy.
So it's a big help.
No.
I've been telling people the same thing for a long time. Yeah, buy everything in an LLC. I'm like, start an LLC, buy your house, but put it under the LLC. You're completely, no liability. And if you go bankrupt, they can't take your house because it's under the LLC, not you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a way that the rich people stay rich, right?
Yep.
It's because they basically know the tax code well enough to know not how to pay taxes.
Right.
So, if the average person learns that, even a little bit of that, you can get ahead pretty quickly rather than just being the guy that they take 40% from every year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually have learned a thing recently new that I sell off small amounts of certain stock at a loss, a minimal loss, just to put me in a different tax bracket.
Nice.
Yeah. It actually makes a huge difference, bud. Like I take a small loss here and all of a sudden I'm in a different tax bracket and I gain all that money back. It's like, yeah.
It's when you learn it, like I try to explain this to some of my guys that work with me. And when you learn it and you explain it to somebody, they're like, that's got to be illegal. You know what I mean? Like they just think that, what do you mean you did that? I'm telling you, it's just the way the tax code is.
Yeah. A few years back, I figured out how the housewives of became anything, like those TV shows where it's the Real Housewives of whatever, and then they launch a vodka and then they do this and then they do that. I was like, how do these hoes do that? And I figured it out and I was like, that's what they're doing. They start a LLC and then they get their little product out there, and who gives a shit if it tanks and everybody hates your vodka, girl? That means you get to go to a brunch. You need a new outfit for that meeting. You gotta fly somewhere to go to that meeting. You need a new bag. Your husband lowered your allowance. I got business expenses. And I might have revenue coming in. Shush your mouth.
No, I mean, exactly. It's wild. And like I said, it sounds like it's wrong, but it's 100%. That's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. They set it up that way. And also in the process, at a certain point, you do become profitable. You do get to a point where you're like, I'm working towards something. Don't be a turd and exploit the system. Don't do that. Like actually use this to your advantage to get somewhere, grow your skills, get all your stuff, have a legacy.
As like a rule of thumb, they usually don't even expect to see a profit from any normal business for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have that 5 years as sort of like that cushion where like, even if you don't have every opportunity to capitalize on everything, they're not really going to come after you in that 5 years anyway.
Yeah. They're not going to, they're not asking any questions. They know you're working on it.
Right. Okay, we already got questions in the chat.
Cool.
All right.
So, first question from JC is: was Stacks inspired by any homesteaders or farmers like Joel Salatin or Bill Mollison?
I don't know about those guys in particular, but I'll bring up a name and it might be a little bit surprising, but you guys ever heard of Owen Benjamin?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Figured
He's
if
sorta
Owen
like-
can do it, I could do it.
Well, yes, in a way, but I mean, like, he's sort of like he was. I guess the best way to put it is that, like, the way that he chose to do it was like the way that I could see myself trying to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was just like get after it. You know, like, because a lot
Decide
of
that
guys,
this is what you want.
it's debt free, right?
Mhm.
Like, that is the plan for me. I don't want that at all,
Right.
for anything. If I can't pay for it, I don't want it. I'll figure something else out.
Yep.
So like when I tapped into some of that idea from him, it shined a different light. Because the truth is that, like, if I wanted to, I could go to the bank and probably get whatever I needed to get to make shit a whole lot easier. But I learned during COVID that that's a way that it's leverage. You know,
Yes.
you have to, if you have all this that you owe somebody else for, you got to do whatever they say in order to keep it. And, you know, you kind of invest in your own debt slavery every time you make a payment.
Yeah.
You make a payment, you really don't want to lose it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you make another payment, you even more don't want to lose it. So some of this stuff, I love Owen because he's crazy as hell. And it's hilarious to listen to him. But some of the base things that he talked about as far as that stuff really just made me go, I'm just doing it. I'm just doing this.
Yeah. That's good. I like when what I appreciate about your channel and your content and what you put out there is it's that, like, it's just showing somebody else, like, hey, I'm out here doing this. If I could do it, you could try to do it. Might
Yeah.
not be good at it. I'm not even good at it, but like somebody's out here doing this thing.
Yeah, the one problem that I see with most people is, and you said it earlier, when we were talking about selling, like, all you got to do is be able to think it through. And that's the problem with most people, is the thinking it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yes, if you have some common sense and some knowledge, and like, and you're a smart person, you basic math, and you can look at something and visualize, like, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But most people don't have that basic skill anymore.
I completely can relate because I'm a foreman in the electrical field, and you know, you get guys, especially new guys. So I don't, you know, they're young, they're in their early 20s, and it's like it's a constant, like, you're just
The struggle.
kind of going, what did you think was going to happen next now? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So when you did
Did you
that,
go
what-
any
now, did you-
steps further?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, it is though. It's just, to be perfectly, like, honest, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to be beholden to anybody or anything. And in part, that's sort of like what this self-sufficient type of thing is all about, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, cards on the table is that, like, we bought this house in this city, and then I bought property just outside. It's 10 minutes away. And when I say city, it's not, you know, it's a town.
Right.
But I mean, we actually were in a part where we kind of have neighbors. But if you drive 60 seconds past my house, you're in the middle of thousands of acres of woods. You know what I mean? So, not that I own all that, but I mean, I'm just saying,
But yeah,
like,
it's
that's
there.
what, you know what I
Got
mean?
buffer.
And then we bought some acreage to do that on, just simply because it was available. There was some stuff that we could work on. And the whole idea was that I wanted to, COVID really woke me up, like, for real. Like, I mean, I was already kind of like, you know, I don't really trust what they're saying, but COVID was the thing where I was like, holy shit.
Y'all ain't
Like,
playing games no more.
we got to figure out how to not be beholden to these people. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where are you getting your food from? Like, where the energy? I mean, look at this stuff now. I got solar on my place, and it's like, you know, it's not like you get power from the power company on demand, but it's more than enough to do what you need to do, right? So, I mean, it's just I just see things. I often describe this as, like, you can kind of see the path, the trajectory that things are going. I can see it a lot, and I don't know why. It's like pattern recognition. And when I see this pattern, I'm just looking and I'm going, oh, this is bad. Like, where we're going.
Yeah,
like,
this isn't, there's no good There's no good in any
Yeah.
of these scenarios that I'm running through, and I'm retarded.
Right. I mean, I can see that there's off ramps. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
people
We could
was
take an
wise
exit.
up,
We could take an exit.
yeah, wise up. And if we just like collectively can wise up a little bit and be like, hey, this is really dumb. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What if we just kind of rethink this thing before we go into World War III or something crazy?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, then, you know, but I mean, most people ain't. They're just, you know, it's just
Content
amazing
to-
to me
Yeah.
whatever the screen says, whatever the television or computer or phone tells people is real, they just believe it and walk right with it. They don't, no matter how ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
Wear your mask into the restaurant, but take it off when you sit down 5 feet away, and everything, you're good after that.
Yeah.
And nobody, like, I mean, there's nobody was like, what?
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, we, you know, I said earlier we gave up our 22 acre homestead dream to take the dream job instead. But I will guarantee you that if the dream job was in New York City, I would have
Wouldn't have
taken
taken
it.
it.
You know what I mean? The fact that it's in the cornfields of Illinois was like, all right, yeah, we can live out in the cornfields. I'm fine with that.
We could do that.
You know?
Right.
We could do
Because-
that.
Right. I got a pretty good friend that lives in the Bronx. And he calls me periodically. He comes in to visit. He'll come up and just stay on the property, like to decompress, because that's how stressed he is from
I
living
bet.
there. I'll just give him a week and say, just go. You know what I
Enjoy.
mean? It's like a mini vacation.
Mhm.
And like the stories and the way things are out there, it is just there's no amount of money that would take me back to Pittsburgh, let alone New York.
Yeah, no, there's no way I'd go back to the. So I originally came from New Jersey, right outside Philadelphia in South Jersey there, and yeah, there's no way I'd ever go back to that area. You couldn't pay me.
No.
Nope. In fact, I don't think I
My
could.
attorney friend is from out there. My buddy Mike, he's from out there.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
know a bunch of mics.
Yeah, right.
What? I mean, I'll tell you, he's got a YouTube channel and he does like a Fox News radio thing. His name's Mike Garamita.
Okay, no, I
Kind
don't
of
know him.
popular, but not really. I mean, like, but he out, you know, in his
Neck of
niche
the woods,
area,
yeah.
like he's kind of a top dog. Like he does that thing. He gets
Nice.
mainly gun rights.
Okay,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like gets things restored for the people that have been in trouble or something like that.
nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. So, you got some questions?
I do have questions. I have my question first. Do you still have the bees?
They died.
Okay.
Oh,
I know that they are finicky. It is hard to do. I saw the bee video and I was really excited and I was like, rein it in, Emily. Doesn't always work out.
oh, I got a question.
It's
Oh no, go ahead.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, when it comes to the bees, I mean, you're 100%. Like when we got them, you can get a nuke, which I'm sure if anybody knows any about this is just, you know, repeated, but they come as what's called a nuke. And it's just a small few worker bees, soldier bees, and then a queen, and they're meant to kind of grow. We had that and they were good for like a year and a half. And then the winter came and it was a bad winter. I didn't insulate it enough. So like you should technically wrap it and you know, in these colder climates. And I think that's what did them in, but I'm not 100%. It could have been something else, but they just basically didn't make it. But the crazy part is I just left the nest the way that it was. Like my wife kind of cried about it. So like, I was like kind of angry and I'm like, you know, like what else could we do? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a little disheartening when you care about the things and you're trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But the craziest part is one day I came home from work, I see bees flying in and out of the old beehive.
Nice.
All of a sudden, they just moved in. Like there was just a whole colony that just moved in. And I was like, this is freaking crazy. Like what? It was the same, very, very similar situation though. They lasted about a year and the same thing. Like I thought I wrapped it up enough.
Yeah.
I was, you know, like with foam around the sides and I guess it wasn't enough. I'm not real sure. And we actually moved the bee box to another location and we put, there's like a dropper scent thing you can put on it to try to attract more. I'm hoping maybe the new location, if we can get lucky enough to attract another hive that, you know, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it too. Instead of paying for bees,
Right.
just attract another hive.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, I mean, that's because they're not cheap either. That's
No,
the
they're
bad.
not.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. That was the only comment I had on the leftover hive was, if you build it, they'll show up. They'll come.
I hope.
So
I hope they come back.
the only question I really have is Clarkson's Farm. You a fan?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the bees made me think of that.
Oh okay.
We're a big Jeremy Clarkson household.
Yeah, we like Clarkson.
Being a car guy my whole life, being in that field, Top Gear and Grand Tour, and but I was really happy to see him farming. That was where I was like, oh, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're a car guy. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Ford or Chevy trucks?
Chevy trucks.
Chevy
trucks. Mainly because the 5.3 liter V8 they make is pretty bulletproof, and
yeah.
I mean it's extremely bulletproof. And if something were ever to happen to go wrong with it, they're a dime a dozen. There's a million of them out there. You know what I mean? Ford motors are expensive to repair and replace. Their V8s are not cheap. You're gonna they're known for camshafts and stuff going bad. You're talking like $4,000 or $5,000 repairs every 100,000 miles. Whereas that Chevy's just going to run 200,000, it might blow up, and you spend $600 and drop another used one in there and get 100,000 miles out of it.
Yeah.
And it's and the Chevy's a pushrod motor. They're easy to work on. They're easy to source parts for. Even in the middle of nowhere, you can make your own pushrod if you need to. You know what I mean?
In part, the reason why I ask is I have a 1500 that I've had for a while. My uncle had it when it was brand new. He died. Left it to his sister. Now I have it. It's an 05. But I've been shopping around, and I'm going to get a 250, but I've been seeing a ton of Fords for sale and not really a lot of Chevys. Yeah. So I'm like, what do you think about those types? Because I mean, if you're looking Fords I've seen are like, the F250s, I'm looking at them. I'm like, why is there so many for sale?
They were just popular selling. Now, if you're looking at if you're looking at a diesel, the Fords aren't that bad. I'm talking more or less the gas motors. No, they're really, there's certain things you may have to do to them, but once you do it, and most of the used ones for sale have already had that done to it. Replace the head bolts with studs so that you don't blow head gaskets. Upgraded turbos. Not that turbo's a huge problem, but things like that. Most of that stuff's already been done. If you look at an ad, most of them will say bulletproofed 6.4 liter. Bulletproofed means they've already done all the bullshit work that is going to need to be done, and buy it and it'll run forever. Although Scotty
you just taught me something. I didn't know what the hell that even meant. I thought that was some kind of gimmick thing that they're telling me. Yeah. You'd see bulletproofed. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Bulletproofed means that the head bolts have been replaced with studs, and the EGR has been deleted usually, and a few other problem things have been taken care of. But I've seen in the comments here, Scotty says the Cummins 2500. And yes, Dodge Cummins is by far the diesel to go with, but they're so freaking expensive.
I did see one, and it was really kind of
wow. Double the price of the Fords, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, double the price of the Ford. That's what I'm saying. You're never going to spend as much, and you're never going to put enough money into repairing your Ford diesel that you know what I mean, that you're going to make up with and paying the extra cost of the Cummins. But
again, just because I'm not trying to lease or get payments either. So I'm saying these are a little bit older, what I mean? And I'm buying them off, not necessarily a lot. So, you got to really kind of ask these questions to people that might know.
Yeah. It's funny. When we were getting ready to move to Oklahoma, I had a buddy who was selling his 250, 6.4 liter that he had already had bulletproofed and done that. It had 160,000 miles on it. And I was going to buy it knowing I was going to get another 200,000 miles out of it before I had to do anything to it. And then again, it's a diesel motor. So it's not like a gas motor where you got to replace it when it goes bad. You rebuild it. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, diesel's expensive now, but still, when you think about it, I seen the one, and I have no idea if this is accurate or not, because I never had a diesel, but I did. This is the time I'm probably going to pull the trigger on one, because I've always kind of wanted one. But they're like, you can get a million miles. And I'm like, a million miles?
Yeah.
A million miles. Okay. So when I see one that's 150K or 200.
That's just broken in.
Yeah.
That's just broken in. 150K is just broken in on a diesel.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think I just helped me sell myself.
On a diesel.
Now, the other good thing about a diesel that I will tell you is, do you tow a lot?
That's the part of the reason why we're looking at them, because a lot of the stuff, especially, yes, towing, but more like loading it up with a ton of gravel
Right.
and
So here,
stuff like that.
Hauling stuff.
here's what I'll say about that. So I have a Grand Cherokee as one of our vehicles. I tow a lot with it. It gets like 15, 16 miles a gallon, but towing I get 8. You know what I mean? Same with my old truck. It would get 15, 16 towing. I'd get about 7. My buddy, I used to borrow my buddy's diesel all the time, and I would drive it around, and I'd get like 18, 19 miles a gallon out of his diesel, a huge F-250 diesel. I'd hook the trailer up to it. I'd take it out. I'd still get 18, 19 miles to the gallon. It's like it doesn't change in a diesel. You know what I mean?
Right. That's in part why I was thinking about it too, because I mean, that's exactly what you said. I mean, it sounds like, for me anyway, we're going to be expanding the property because we're taking literally raw wood. Like there's just, well, I guess I should say it's like a mountaintop, and there used to actually be houses back there in like the 1800s. They were like the mansions. Years and years ago, the people with money would build their houses high.
Yeah. So they could look not really. Yeah, they'd get the good view and look down on you at the same time.
They wanted to look down on everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's still remnants of these old places up there, which I find it's fascinating sometimes.
That's
when you start
awesome.
finding it, it's crazy. Like I was digging a pond and found the basement to a house. It was crazy. I swear, like all the rocks like that we started to use to go around and everything, like it just rock after rock. It was all like the sandstone basement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's all over the East Coast.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you never know what you're going to find either.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, it's straight Indian country. Like it's called it. The name of the city is literally it's after an Indian name. I don't want to dox myself.
No, you're
good.
good.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Fine.
Yeah,
it's literally like an Indian name. So like you really never know what you're going to find. There's a place. There was like a massacre whenever they were chasing down the Indians. That's really close to where I am. So like you can find all kinds of crazy stuff you didn't really know could be around. My buddy wants to metal detect the area just to see if he can find anything kind of cool.
Yeah, my dad and stepmom live upstate, like northeast Pennsylvania, in the mountains there, and they got a couple acres, and they find all kinds of weird shit up there. It's kind of cool.
It is though. I mean, you stumble upon something like a horseshoe or something, and you're like,
how old is this?
How old? You just imagine the story behind it.
Yeah.
There's oak trees on my property that are 6 to 8 feet around, and I just constantly think to myself, how long has this thing been here? I could chop it down and get a lot. Like I could get a lot for the wood because there's the milling places and stuff, but I'm like, I really just don't want to.
I just want to see how big this thing will get. How long can it live?
Big, massive, beautiful freaking trees.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good for the kids.
Everybody wants to chime in on their vehicles real quick. Now they're talking vehicles. So I got to recognize JC though, because JC have a 13 Grand Cherokee Overland with the 5.7. And I'll tell you what, I've got 220,000 miles on that now.
Yeah.
And I just now have to put a camshaft in it.
Yeah.
And I will do it one of these days when I get around to it.
Yeah. I was going to say it's summertime. There's still stuff to do, but we're year-round people. So when he gets around to it, it'll get done. Until then, it'll sit in the driveway, and I'll take it to pick up the dry cleaning.
Right. Yeah. I ride one of my motorcycles to work most days. If it's raining,
a garage, I guess.
What's that?
You have like a garage. You have a garage.
Yeah.
Work? Like you.
Oh no, I don't have a garage I can work in here. I did in New Jersey. My garage is full. I've got our camping trailer, my boat, and our two motorcycles in my 2-car garage right now. I along with my huge 3-bay snap-on toolbox from when I used to actually work for a living.
It's Tetris in there.
Yeah, with my motorcycle tire machine, my 12-ton hydraulic press. Like I got so much stuff sandwiched in this little tiny 2-car garage. But
you got the ability at least to put some work in. I mean, I have the mine's. It's too small to even do anything in, and who wants to lay on their back on the street trying to wrench on a car?
Nobody.
Yeah, I actually got. I'm very fortunate, as in a good buddy of mine I work with, bought a house in this tiny town that he lives in, but his house used to be a Chevy dealership. So like the showroom, offices, and stuff was converted into a nice house living area. And then the shop from the dealership is still his garage. So he's literally got a 9-bay shop as his garage.
No way.
Yeah. He's got 2 lifts in there.
If you were into cars, that is like ideal, isn't it?
Like,
if you're like the car guy, holy shit, like that would be great. Like I put myself into that. Like, wow, like that would be like, you know, like you have what you would ever need.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. So
exactly.
whenever I need to work on one of my vehicles, I just take it over to his place, put it up on his lift, do what I got to do. Makes it easy.
Oh, the lifts are still in there and everything?
No, he had to buy his own. He bought two lifts after he bought the place.
Either way, though, that's cool. I would love to be able to take advantage of somebody that might have that. I got to pay people, dude. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know if I'd have the time to get into doing anything too crazy. Like, I put some work into the Chevy, and you try to bounce. Listen, I seriously have 1 hour a day, which you guys, this is the hour that I can do anything that isn't work. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, this is every single day. So, you know, like choosing the project is important, you know. Like I was getting ready to say the property, we're expanding it as we go. So like it's just woods, like there's just trees everywhere. Like when we first started, one of the first, which is what made me want to make the YouTube channel to begin with, is that like this was an old county road that was overgrown. Like you could barely walk up it. Like you would get your car so far, you'd have to stop, trees fell down. And then, you know, you walk up to the mountaintop, and, you know, these are places where their houses used to be, but it was so, this is no exaggeration. It was so thick, you couldn't walk through it. So like when you would have to start, you'd be hacking away. Wham, you know, this is how thick this stuff is. And, you know, like we've opened up a fair amount of it mainly by hand. Like just me and my wife. Sometimes she was pregnant when we first started doing it. So like,
so you guys are doing like pioneer shit.
Well, we're trying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important to get it. Honest to God, I mean, I know it'll sound crazy, but like I worked for the power company for 7 years for First Energy, right? First Energy is responsible for most of the Eastern Seaboard's power. I don't want to scare anybody, but I'm telling you, have a backup plan for power.
Sir.
Yeah.
Whether it's a generator or solar or something. Because the way that it works is that if it goes down, it does not come right back on. It is not a switch.
Nope.
You have to have power to turn the power on. Most substations have diesel generators in them for when it goes down, because you need to generate power to turn the power back on.
Right.
And if it's anything, it's so fragile, dude. You got to think it's almost 150 years old.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This power grid has been in the open air through all these seasons, 150 years old. I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a reason why I try to prepare when you say pioneer stuff. It's like, it's because if the lights go out, they might not come right back on, and you better know how to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of like in you were saying earlier with your solar, and you know, it's not like the grid, but it does good, and that's something that people need to really consider going forward. Is how much electricity do you really need to use?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, do you really need to have all these lights on all the time? Do you really need the TVs and this and that? Like how much energy do you really need to consume in a day? You know?
I'll tell you on average. So we had a project for a while, which I don't get super political, but you know, Biden really screwed us because that I'm in the electrical union as well. And when I was working
Shout
for
out
that
IBEW.
particular what's that?
I said shout out IBEW.
Yeah. Except for they're backing, you know, the wrong people constantly.
Yep.
It's the union. It's the union. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Nobody, listen, do you know who wants the Democrats?
The leadership.
The hall. The people at the hall. Nobody in the freaking field wants to have
the
anything
people
to
who
do
still
with
want to
that.
have bureaucratic bullshit jobs and get invited to luncheons.
Yeah, the people that are getting rich, people getting rich off of your union dues. That's who wants it.
That's exactly who. Correct. But the point, like what I was going to say is that the Keystone Pipeline project, I'm sure like you heard of that. Trump kind of initiated all the funding for that when he was in office. And the day Joe Biden the day that he took office, he cut the funding.
What was his reasoning behind that?
That was dumb.
It was just
a Trump project.
Just a shit ass move to make.
My belief is that it was just a Trump project. So like when they do these things, the real, like the dirty laundry of it and the stuff that people don't know is that when these really big federal jobs are given out to companies, they're already really big companies, but they're getting the jobs because they're friends with the people that are writing the bills.
Oh yeah.
So when they, you know, that's the campaign contributions and stuff. They're giving that money because if they get this person elected, when these projects come up, they expect to get the project money.
Yeah.
It. So when it comes to something that big, the Keystone Pipeline, it's massive. There's billions of dollars there. Like, you should see how much money gets thrown around in these things. It's amazing. But the point is Biden wanted his people to get those contracts.
Yeah.
So, everybody out.
Then we'll cancel
that
it.
was on Trump's team and, Biden's team, everybody in,
Terrible.
Yeah. Sorry, that was so unprofessional of me to get up and get more moonshine while we were talking, but
No, it's fine.
Moonshine. Good for you.
You said not everybody might know that. I just assume everybody watched that show House of Cards, or they've watched that other TV show Billions. Like, they tell us what the hell they're doing. They have to. Like,
Yeah.
At some point they gotta either tell us beforehand sneakily or right in our face afterwards and be like, I mean, y'all didn't catch on. Nobody said nothing.
Revelation of method, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what that is. The revelation of method, like they're not, I mean, this is obviously the conspiracy of it, but they are not responsible if they tell you. If you fall for it, then it's your fault.
Yes. You are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's consent at that point. You're consenting to it. Yeah. All right. What do you got there, Emily?
All right. What is there a difference between homesteading and farmsteading?
Not as far as I can tell.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't think that there was a big difference. I just figured it'd be more of like a personal preference of like which
when
one
I
you
looked
feel
up
like
a
you're
name
doing.
for my channel, everybody had a homestead.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try to stand out a little bit, and I think they're just basically synonyms, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't see any, as far as what you would have to do on a daily basis, I really don't see any difference in it.
Yeah.
I just thought the name was cooler and it stood out a little more differently,
Right.
than,
Not
like, everybody
everybody's
else.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then were you realistic with yourself on what to expect, or were you out there like whacking to clear the path and be like, what the hell did I do?
No, not at any point. It'll sound, I'm not all there, like, for real. Like, I'm kind of crazy in a way. Like,
You got a couple marbles missing.
If I zero in on it, it's getting done. I don't, if I lose a leg doing it, I'm still,
Jason,
what I mean?
have you met Tom? Do you see what we're doing here? Do you see the production quality that we have? Because I was like, I mean, the people are fine with janky video and audio. They watch me. They'll be fine. He's like, no. This is
honestly, I'm a little envious because I want to do something similar, and the fact that, like, I mean, I might as well be a boomer with what I know how to do technology wise, but I want to be able to set this, like the system how you guys might have up at my place, where it's kind of overlooking everything, and like the background behind me, I have some really beautiful scenery that's from up there. You can see the river and everything. But if you can pull that off, that's outstanding. Like, I mean, it really is. And you know what people come to? They come to content. It's not about production quality.
Yeah.
No, not really. They show up because there's something to show up for.
Right. Yeah. I'm like you said, I'm 100%. Like, when I was focusing on something, it's like I just focus in on it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get done the right way because I want to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just the right way. So yeah,
Whereas I'm team, I'll make 1,000 mistakes before I like take it seriously. I just want to see how interested I am.
Well, I still make lots of
continuing to
mistakes.
do this thing.
I'm not coming into this thinking that I know anything. I'm coming into it to learn. Like, that's what it is. And how else are you going to learn until
Other
you
than
do?
doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I just head first 100% all the time too. Just like, I'll figure it out. But like when we were looking at that property, like, I had already set up arrangements to buy a tractor with a brush hog and I'm like, I never driven a tractor before. I don't know how to use any of this stuff, but I'm gonna buy it because I know I need it. You know what I mean? And I'll figure it out later.
I did the same thing. We ended up having to get rid of the tractor because, again, when we lost that job, things got tight for a minute. But I did the same thing. Like, I flipped the tractor. Like, I flipped it on its side. I had no idea what I was doing. And like, the crazy part is like, it wasn't anything wild or anything, but like, when you call the dealership and say that the tractor flipped, they're like, who died?
Right. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Typically people don't. And I'm like, nobody died. What
I
do
just
you mean?
jumped
They're like,
off
well,
it real
that's rare,
quick.
you know?
Yeah. Now, how do you get this thing upright, buddy?
What's the trick
They
here?
sent. I mean, there was. What was funny about that is that they sent a guy with a tow truck. I only had it for a week. They sent a guy with a tow truck, and the old guy. My property's rough. Like you can't just go there. Like like it's 4-wheeling to get back there, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a flatbed, and he's like, "You want to get up there? We'll get up there." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" He's like, I had a 4Runner at the time, no joke, like a brand new 4Runner, and that was the only time I ever tried to get a brand new vehicle. He's like, "This is a flatbed, fucking, Oh, sorry, I don't know if this.
No, you're
you're
good.
fine.
You say whatever you want,
Let
bud.
it
You're
fly.
good.
It's a big flatbed truck in order to tow." And he's like, "Put a chain between us, and when I get to this bump spot, you just pull as hard as you can." I pulled him up the hill with the with the Toyota 4Runner, and he pulled it off the ground. I mean, true story. Like, I mean, I had the thing. I'm trying not to swear, but
you can swear, buddy. It's fine.
I had the thing for a week, and I dumped it on its side, and they were like, "What the hell?" But they hooked up the chain to it and pulled it and flipped it right back over. It wasn't anything too crazy, but I learned that day that if your oil gets into where the glow rings are at while it's running, it won't turn off.
Yeah, it's gonna burn that oil.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I pulled a key and I jumped back and it's just running wide open because it's on its side and the oil's going to where the glow rings are, and it just keeps running wide open. I'm like, this is gonna get bad.
Diesel engines, you gotta love it. Compression ignition. As long as it's hot and there's something combustible going to it, it's gonna keep running.
Yeah.
You don't need spark you don't need spark or any of that stuff like you do like with a gas motor. It's just as long as you got compression and something that can compress like oil, you're good.
Yep. So you really drinking moonshine? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
It's the apple pie.
Apple pie moonshine. Yeah.
I'm trying to learn how to make it because ethanol, right?
Yeah.
Like think about it. Right? Like you can make your own fuel.
Right.
If you know how to make moonshine, you can make your own fuel.
Yeah. You can buy small stills to test stuff with on like Amazon and stuff. A buddy of mine did. And you can actually make moonshine with it. Just don't expect your first couple batches to be drinkable.
I quit drinking 10 years ago, but I thought it would be cool to experiment with the other thing.
Yeah.
Like
you can buy small stills to kind of mess around with it and play around with it on Amazon for cheap. And then once you kind of figure it out, if you want to go to a bigger setup to make your own ethanol, but I would recommend just cheap, small, learn what you're doing. Cause it is as easy as do this, do that, and boom, you got moonshine or you've got ethanol, but there's different levels of quality. And that's what, what I mean? Figure that out on a small, cheap setup and then just, do math. Just do the math after that. Yeah.
So, and again, so it's just like basically find the mixture that works and run with it, right?
Yeah. It's also temperatures. If you boil it too fast, it's a little off. If you do too slow, it doesn't steam quite right, and then distill. And it's a process. There's a lot of tweaking along. There's first the mash you make. There's some tweaking that goes into that, and then when you actually kick it off and distill it, there's variations of heat and other things that do make a difference. So, like I said, you can play with it.
Very interesting. I can't wait to try. Like, I'm building the infrastructure first, and then we're going to start getting into that type, more woodworking, more like forging.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're going to start. And then, like I said, stuff like that, too. Like, infrastructure first, right? And then once we get the infrastructure built, I'm going to try to start expanding into doing like those types of things.
Smart.
Yeah.
I freaked out and did this because I heard recently that it wasn't so much about temperance that we had the prohibition. It was because everybody was making their own ethanol and alcohol with fucking vegetable scraps and whatever they wanted to. And you could run your car with it.
Yep. 100%. Because look, just pay attention to the patterns, right? Like I told you, like when I see this stuff, I could see the pattern recognition. Look back and pay attention to the patterns. It was fine all the way up until the petroleum monopoly, right?
Yep.
And then once that petroleum monopoly
Beaumont
got what it
Dam,
wanted,
Texas,
they left it alone after that. Like they didn't care. Like after they went and busted up everybody's stills, And then, the gas stations were a thing, and they made them go, and, you have to do all your emissions and everything, right?
We got NASCAR out of it.
After they got that established, now nobody cares if you make it,
No.
right?
Yeah. Well,
That's
just
everything you need to know.
yeah. Well, just like we were talking about diesel engines. Diesel engines were designed and built to run on hemp oil. That's exactly
Right.
that's what they were designed for. And then later it was an afterthought, like, hey, they can also run on this, and diesel became a thing. But yeah, no, it's that's why everybody's like, oh, biodiesel, this new thing. I'm like, it's not a new thing. It was originally designed to run on hemp oil, bud. Like,
Not corn.
you're just going back to its roots.
It's funny you said hemp, because when I first bought the land, that was one of the first crops that came to mind. And I bought the seeds. I still have the seeds. I got a shitload of hemp seeds. And then as I was developing the property, I got a visit from a sheriff's deputy that said that they found a guy on my property 10 years before that was growing weed. He was growing weed, like actual weed, because there's a spring.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the guy put a pump into the spring and start growing bud.
Yeah.
And now I start thinking, like, they look so similar. What's going to stop these guys from, like, just full-fledged running in? Well, how would they know the difference in the moment?
Yeah.
You know what I
Wouldn't.
mean? Like, I could say it's hemp, and they're going to be like, put
Oh,
your hands behind your back.
Yeah, they're gonna kick your door in.
Right.
They're not gonna say, you're gonna kick your door in guns ablazing, hoping that you move suddenly.
So
Yeah, I mean, but you can make a lot of money from hemp if you do it the right way. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as the yield per acreage of crop, like, you could do really well. It's just finding the buyers. But
Right.
I mean, you could if you did.
there's
That's
a
still something, maybe.
You can make just about anything out of it, man. Ropes and fabrics and fuels. And
yeah, you just have to. There just has to be the supply chain
Plastic.
of somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
he said you just have to find the buyer.
Yeah.
There is a veteran-owned hemp farm in upstate Rochester, New York. It's called Veterans in Nanda, owned by Sarah Stenoff, a veteran. And when you said the hemp seeds, that's what I was thinking about. Also, you mentioned LLC. You have the farmstead. If you do decide to grow it, you just fill out some paperwork and say it's feed for your animals or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, he's out there growing this, so we don't really need to bother him. It's on paper, it's hemp. Because
That's an excellent idea. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that.
yeah, and the other thing about hemp was like that used to be that was our filler crop. That's what we used to grow instead of corn and soy. That's what it was
Right.
in the food chain. The cannabinoids were in the food chain. Sorry.
And what they can actually do. I've seen stuff. I don't know. When I was younger, I was straight. Like I said, it's been at least 10 years where I kind of gave up everything. But like what they say cannabis can do for cancer cells is
Yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, like, if it's true, I mean, because it could be, it might, who knows? But I mean, I believe it could be. What they say it could do is just, yeah. I mean, it would be. Just imagine if low yield, if you were ingesting hemp in some way constantly, how much healthier you might be able to be if those things are true.
Right.
Yeah. So I have read a ton of medical research. I've read all of it, not all of it, but I've read a ton of it to try to like justify my cannabis consumption to myself and also my boomer parents and grandparents. But your body has an endocannabinoid system. There is a function that the creator put in our bodies to process it. If we don't put it into process, you're going to be lacking something. Some systems won't work right. It's a crucial part of the process. So they sell the hemp seeds or hemp seed hearts at the grocery store. They've got the hemp milk out there. They've got it. It's out there to be able to be consumed.
Well, if you put it that way.
Oh, okay. I'll do that. But yeah, it's just another thing. Like you said, the pattern recognition, everything runs in cycles. If they got away with it once, they'll get away with it again. My number one frustration is that most of us don't understand what has happened in the time that we've been on this planet. But we have the audacity to try to worry about space aliens and lower G gods and Rome. Who gives a shit? What happened since the day you were born until today? Do you understand that?
Yeah, that's probably most people don't understand that.
No, they don't. I mean, I think, I think the more back to nature that we can get, the better off, mentally, physically, medically, that we could probably be. I mean, it's how people survive for so long. Like if you could combine what used to be as far as diet with modern things as far as plumbing, your lifespan could be a lot longer.
120 years on average.
I think honestly, like, I've had arguments with people about, because the vaccine and all that stuff, my one kid got vaccinated, and he had an adverse effect. So my other two, never again. But 70 shots is what they're up to now.
Yeah.
70.
I was in the military, but I couldn't even tell you how many shots I got while I was in the military. It was just days of just standing there, just in line, just getting shot after shot after shot after shot. Like by the time the COVID vaccine came around, I'd taken so many experimental shots in the military by then. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is probably going to, garbage, whatever. But like, I don't know, who am I? I've already gotten everything,
No, I get it.
They've already tried their best on me.
As much as anything else. I have my reservations about that particular thing. Are you on YouTube now?
We are, but we don't care. They can kick us off. We don't give a shit. We don't.
I'll just, I won't say anything too.
Oh, we do it all the time, bud. Don't even worry about it.
We're not big enough for them to give a fuck about.
No, yeah, we say the COVID word all the time and nonsense. We don't care.
Yeah.
And kick me off YouTube for the 14 people that watch us there will just have to go to Rumble.
So I mean, like my channel is right next to getting monetized. Like we're like right there. I think within the next couple of months we should be able to pull it off. Especially if we could get a few more. It has a very
subscribe.
A slow pattern, like, and it's growing. Like it's just a matter of time.
Good, consistent growth, sustainable, consistent growth. That's all you gotta hope for.
And like different streams of revenue was the most important thing that I found out during COVID was that, like, because they tried to shut off when I refused to take it. They wanted to throw me out of the union, and they basically did for almost 9 months. I was going to sue them, and then I had to go work for a garage door place, which surprisingly enough paid me more than I made in the union, just because they wanted me to be there to fix all the electrical things.
Yeah,
smart.
But it was a great place to be during that time, because the people that were there, they didn't care about none of that.
Yeah, you just had a job to do.
Yeah,
just get these tickets cleared.
Right. So I mean, like it was cool, but I mean, what I learned from that, among a whole bunch of other things, is that self-reliance. Don't be dependent on anybody. Don't be beholden to anybody. And like multiple streams of revenue is the best way you can get around any kind of, if they're trying to stop you from, you can't do this or you're not going to make money. Well, multiple streams of revenue kind of gets around all that, right?
Right.
So what we're hoping is that between producing things on the farm, ad revenue from maybe YouTube, Rumble, for some reason, I have the hardest time uploading videos to it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I try to do it at the same time and it'll go up on YouTube, but it won't go up on Rumble. But that's the idea, though, is that like multiple streams of revenue doing different things. I got a little side company where we do a little bit of contract work, electrical wise, and like that's sort of the idea, is to try to get it from as many different angles as you can, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and then I was gonna say, I think the goal from there. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, go ahead, dude. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think the goal from there too is also to get enough revenue from the farm and the side company to not have to do the union bullshit anymore. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only reason I even went back to the union is because of my daughter's heart condition.
The insurance
which,
benefits.
if you want to touch on that, because you guys have mentioned it and brought it up,
yes,
I don't
sir.
have any problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'd love to get an update on Miss Hope.
I'll just explain it really quickly, but like it's hypoplastic left heart syndrome, basically meaning the left side of her heart, or the left side of anybody's heart that has the condition, is either underdeveloped or not there to the point where it's not usable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when she was born, she was 3 days old. She was immediately in open heart surgery. And what they do is they replumb the heart, so that it will work,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the craziest thing, because talking to the guy, he's like, you're a contractor, you're in the electrical field, you understand what I'm about to say. He's like, we're going to replumb her heart. So her heart doesn't even work the same way as yours and I's do right now, but it works the way that it would to keep her alive.
Yeah.
It's literally plumbed differently. So that's cost millions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, millions and millions. And if it wasn't for these, for me having healthcare from the union, I don't even know where we would be as far as what it would, I don't even know what would we have to do, because I don't even know. How do you tell I can't pay you $1 million? What do we do now?
Right. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So, but I mean, she has to do that twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is just to save her life. That was when she was 3 years old. That was just to get her through until now. So on Monday, she's going back in. And that is going to be to enlarge the process that she did, and then also like make it more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Because, she has, the heart's growing, but these,
as she's growing, the arteries and stuff that they put in aren't.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have to like sort of upsize it, and also they change it in a way, which, details ain't really all that important, but they just kind of change it in a way to make it more efficient. But that's what we're going to do on Monday morning. It's hectic. And I like, listen, I said this to you guys before. I appreciate any help from anybody, especially prayers, more than anything else.
Prayers are free.
Because I honestly think that like that cohesiveness, it builds something. Like, that's my opinion. Is that like when you get enough people to pray, shit happens.
Yeah.
Focused energy on an outcome makes it happen.
No,
The Simpsons didn't do it first. You all paid attention and made it happen. Same thing works with prayer.
Yeah, and I will say, I definitely understand where you're coming from, because like at one point in my life, I was a relatively single guy, no kids, no family, and I was basically had some money put away and was working a job that just was like, I called it a retirement job. I did very little work and made more than enough money for a person to get by, And then one day, all of a sudden, I had a family. And now it's like, all right, well, I guess I better go back to, I used to work for Hyundai before I took the job I have now. So, and it was like, oh, I guess I better make some phone calls, because, it's time to go back to the real job, to the corporate world, to provide for a family. Because at some point, like, you can have your dreams and chase your dreams all you want, but as a grown ass man with a family, like, your job is to support your family. So I completely understand, like, you didn't want to go back to the union, but you got a family and your family comes first.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, it could be worse too, as far, it's like I was blessed to even get in. That's a whole story in itself. But I mean, like, it's a good gig, but like, me being and going, doing stuff by myself, financially, the checks could be better, but there's no way I could afford the insurance that's covered in there as well. So it's like
the benefits package. I'm just thinking,
I'm just gonna whatever I got to do, whatever it is, I don't care. Like, whatever hoop I got to jump through, whatever job I got to do, whatever thing comes up next, we'll just do it. I will just do it, and whatever has to be done will be done.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I could have stayed making less money, and my family could have been just as happy without the money. But it's the insurance. Right. It's the insurance these days. It's just the way of the world nowadays. You know what I mean? That's got, as a family man, that has to be your first on your mind, is like, if shit goes south, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, just explaining what I was saying about her. Let me just say, like, I'll say this is like, this is good. I don't want to drag on any kind of craziness, but like where I came from and what I went through when I was younger into where I see things now. It's been a journey that I think was a divine journey, even though the beginning of it was really crazy. Like, I mean, like, dude, like, I was abused and neglected as I was a kid. I was put into a group home. I was in and out of fucking jails. And I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, drugs, alcohol, like, I mean, I lived the lifestyle that like they write. This is the reason why I was talking about like the attorney guy that knows me well. What he was saying is like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff doesn't happen to one person.
Right.
Oh, but
like
it
this,
does.
right?
Oh, but it does. And you happen to be lucky enough to know that guy. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
and that's everybody. Not everybody has the same levels of crazy. Not everybody has the same levels of trauma and this and that. But like everybody has a very unique experience. And the more that you share that testimony, essentially is what it is, the better off everybody else will be. Then so-and-so won't have a bad day moping on the Elon's internet about how dark it is and God hates me and he's just punishing me. No, bitch. That's just, we all been there. We all been there.
Yep.
Right? We've
Yep.
all been deep in it. But you know what? The sun rises again tomorrow. You just say a couple of prayers and you move forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like, but I've seen it myself firsthand, and it's not something you can really explain, like, to anybody else that hasn't. There's a divine presence, and people can choose to believe that or not believe that. But I'm telling you that I know that it's real, and it set me on a path that I'm on now, because I don't know. I guess like the easiest way I could put it is that like people that know me, family members, friends from the past and everything, they can't really believe it. Like they don't really get it. Like, you know, what do you mean you're farming? Right. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
It's a scam. What kind of scam are you pulling right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. Like, it comes up a
farming.
lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, they're like, no, really, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, like,
Yeah,
no,
hiding bodies on that land? What's going on?
yeah, right. Like, are you really growing a bunch of weed back there or something?
Yeah.
You know, like what, I mean,
Why is
I'm
it
serious
not?
though. Like people don't really believe it because that's how much I've left it behind.
Right.
You didn't
It's,
turn a leaf. You like grew a whole new tree.
Yeah. And I'm telling you the truth is that like, it seems like a movie. Like, it might sound weird, but like when I think about where I was at, it seems like another life. It seems like it's somebody else. It seems like it's something you've seen through somebody else's eyes. Cause like, I can't conceive even thinking about doing it now. Like there's no way. Like, you know what I mean? It's amazing, but it's true. It's real. And I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, you know, God is real. So like just
Right,
for whatever it's
anybody who watches
that.
anybody who watches this show should be aware of that by now.
I mean, even like when they told me about my daughter Hope, it was another one of those things where, and again, if you've never been through this, it might be hard to really wrap your head around, but it was like, everything's going to be fine. You could just feel it, right? Like, I don't know if that's going to make any sense, but like, I could just feel it. And, you know, people would like, they try to extend, you know, oh, I'm sorry about blah. I'm like, listen,
It's gonna be fine.
trust me. Yeah, it's going to be fine. Like this, she's in God's hands. It's God's will.
Right.
And it's going to be fine. Trust me, it's going to be fine. And then, you know, like it was, because the scariest part was the first one. Like that's the one that really, that determined.
That's the deciding factor on how we move forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
So
going to be a follow-up one after this one?
if everything goes well, no.
Okay.
But there's always the potential for minor complications. You never really know.
Right.
But it should be sufficient for her to not have to go back. I mean, that's the goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. There. I don't remember his condition because it was a long time ago. My first job was plumbing and air conditioning sales, and one of my air conditioning guys, his grandson was born with a heart defect. And by the time he was 9 years old, he had 12 surgeries. And he's 20 something years old in college now. But I was just curious to know if it was something that she's not going to be able to grow out of, or if it'd be a continued, or if they've changed medicine that much. But just this one.
Right. No, I mean, it's when it comes to hearts, there's really no way to know until they do it. Right. Like, I mean, like you're not going to know how well it holds up until after. I mean, because it's always on the table too that like if the surgeries fail, she has to have a heart transplant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I will say, modern medicine, the internal medicine doctors have destroyed the human body with these pills and everything else. Destroyed the human body. The surgeons have gotten so good at repairing it though because of it. You know what I mean? Like heart surgeries nowadays are not what they were even 5 years ago. Like the technology advancements is like what they can do nowadays to repair the damage that they are doing to people is amazing.
Right. I mean, 1,000%. That's those same words came out of my mouth a bunch of times already to other people trying to explain it, just having to deal with these people.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that leads up to it kind of sucks. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all the medicines and all of them trying to sell you on this and sell you on that and take this and that, right? Prescriptions and like stuff you don't need. But the surgeons and the surgery, those are, I mean,
they
just
have it
like
down.
think of a 3-day-old's heart.
Right.
Right. The size of it alone, let alone working on it, you know,
It's like
and
the
being
half of
successful.
your
And here's
palm.
right. Well, I mean, it's like a thumb tip or something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's really not. The guy. This is the other blessing that we got is that the guy that is the best in the world,
Is that y'all's hospital?
is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He's in Pittsburgh. So, like that was because we're in the waiting room. There's people from all over the world
Mm-hmm.
that are there. Like there was an Indian woman sitting there, smelled a lot like curry, you know.
Yeah.
But,
As they do. As they do.
But I mean, seriously though, like people from all over the world, like they come to see this guy. So it was again like one blessing is that if it had to happen, it didn't literally uproot everything in order to address it. You know.
Yeah.
That is a blessing.
It is. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a link on our X page, isn't there?
There is.
To donate. So if anybody wants to donate to help cover the cost of the blood, is that what the
transfusions that have to be done?
Well, I'll tell you, this is an interesting story. I don't know how much time you want to.
No, go ahead, bud.
How much time you have?
However much time you have. I know that it's very limited, and we're at an hour and 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's. If you want to go.
Well, I mean. Here's the deal. So I'll try to shorten it, but when we knew she was going back for the surgery for the second one, that was during COVID, and we told them that we wanted to be the ones to donate the blood, and they said fine, whatever at the time. And then as we got closer, we were like, so when do we donate the blood? They tell us that they changed protocol. If we donate the blood, it's going to cost $5,000. You got to get 9 people. Like I'm like, they want us to get 9 different people to come on the same day because one person can't donate 9 times in the time frame that the blood's still viable. So you have to get 9 people, $500 a pop, and for each person, and it all has to be done on the same day. And then half of those people have to come back a second time because it's like one's for plasma and one's for blood. So it's like they have to test the blood before, you know, it's a whole, it's literally a shit show. Like they don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
They don't. That's what it comes down to.
Like,
we got bags of blood. We don't want yours. We got the bags of blood.
What will be so difficult for these people that they'll say no? 5 people? No, I could find 5 people. 7 people?
I mean, we started to find the people. There was tons of people that were willing to come donate. It was the logistics that they were intentionally putting in our way.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to give us $5,000. Each person has to do it. They have to pay with their own credit card up front before they come down. What was the other stuff? There was like other things where like the scheduling could only be on a certain day at a certain time, which means every single person would have had to take off work that day as well because it was only during the middle of the week and it was only during certain time, and it was only in certain places because they only have like certain places where you can go. And just like when you talk to the people, they're just super dismissive on top of everything else. They're just like, well, I don't know why you would want to do that because, you know, we have blood here and it's fine. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's fine? What did you test for? So you know what I mean?
Right.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't test for anything. We just took it from some random guy who needed $25.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was the point I was going to make is that there's only a few of those places. They're mere blocks from the PP places. So you know what part of town they're in. And they give these people reloadable debit cards to come in the door. But it's not good.
No, and they don't ask. They don't ask if you're vaccinated. They don't ask.
No.
They don't ask like, you know, it's, I don't want to sound too crazy, but like, I mean, who knows who's walking in there, right?
And also they could ask all of those questions. People don't have to tell the truth. They're not going to double check. There,
Right.
you know,
I mean,
there's
that's
one of the questions I know that's on there is, have you had any tattoos in the last 60 days? Have
mhm.
you used or shared needles in the last 7 days? You know how many people probably are like,
Have you been to this
day
country
6 is
between this year and
right,
this
yeah,
year?
it's day 6 and 16 hours. No. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not interested in donating blood, so it's kind of
I'm here for this $35 or
yeah.
$60 or whatever the hell it's going for nowadays. I don't know, but
No.
it's
Yeah.
most people use the blood banks and donating blood. It's not actually donating blood anymore. It's selling blood. It's a way to
Right.
supplement income.
Yeah.
People are literally selling their
Yeah, the only way I would ever donate blood is if it was for somebody I knew.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Specific,
Like I'm not
right.
I'm not donating blood.
No.
I don't know what you people are doing with this shit. Not-
I
Well, I
felt
mean, and that's the other thing. Like, what if it's some fucking homo that's, you know, you just monkeypox just walked in the door and
Yep.
like they don't know any of this.
Yeah.
Like, they
and they're
don't,
not
you know
he's
what I mean?
not he
Like,
ain't showing no symptoms or anything. He's just here to
right.
you know,
what I
and
mean?
then
But
2 days later he'll be like, sucks to suck. Don't run tests. That'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like
it's the point is that, like, you know, like, without sounding too crazy about it, but like anybody can go in there. Anybody,
Yeah.
any person, anytime. They can say whatever they want and they'll give blood. And they only test for a couple of things. It's like, you know, stuff that I think they said they test for hepatitis, AIDS,
mhm.
you know, and something else. But I mean, like, who knows if that's even, it's a big, they're making money hand over fist from this blood because what I learned is that the hospitals themselves are only allowed, they get a contract, they can only go to this place. That's it.
Yep.
So
Right.
they can charge whatever they want because the insurance companies have to pay it.
Yep.
You know, they pay some dude that just walked in $60 and they're charging 6,000.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. It really is. But I was saying that because that was the initial reason for that money. But we laid it out. Like, what do you do because we postponed the surgery once trying to figure out what to do with this. So what do you do with it if you don't have that option? And I'm thinking to myself, like, we only have but so much time
Mhm.
to get this together, right? And the 5,000 that we were trying to shoot for was to cover the cost of the blood at the time, but it's going to easily be thousands of dollars that we have to fork up for all of
addition
the other
to.
things.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, like for all of the other things. So, I mean, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and it was like weighing the options, and with the world in turmoil and who knows what happens next, and me being kind of minded the way that I am, I was just thinking, like, what if we can't get the surgery because I keep trying to figure out a way around this blood thing because shit goes sideways? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it's not exactly like they're going to be doing open heart surgeries at this level if, say, like, the lights go out or
Right,
World
yeah.
War III does actually start or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we might be on a short time frame to actually be able to get this done. And can I pull it off logistically? So, yeah, no, we're just going to do the surgery and gamble it. And hopefully there's a way to, this worst case scenario is if somebody lies and said they got vaccinated 2 weeks ahead, like if they got a booster 2 weeks before they gave blood,
Mhm.
that's the worst situation that can happen.
Right.
The other stuff we can try to detox.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you know, just you said it earlier. You know, you pray. It's in God's hands. To be honest with you, we all know she's going to be okay because you know the Lord's going to take care of it, and that's really the important part.
Yeah, it's God's will, bro. Like, I mean, there's nothing much. I can just do my best, but it's God's will.
Right. Exactly. 100%. So yeah, we'll all just pray about it. But you know, the Lord's already taken care of it as far as I'm concerned. You know.
Yeah.
So, okay, Emily, did you have any more questions that you or the audience wanted to know?
I do have one question, or well, 2 questions, I guess. How long have you been at this? When did you buy your property? When did you start?
We established it in 2020.
Okay.
Okay, so 4 years now.
Farmstead 2020.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And then a question from my brother Daniel. If you watched Time on Cleanse today, you got to see that.
Was that
musical.
Raven? He called him Denial.
Yeah. So my brother's name is spelled Danial. Everybody else on the planet is spelled the right way, Daniel. For whatever reason, my mom chose that spelling, and Raven, being Raven, read it out as Denial, and I lost it. I was cracking up for about 10 minutes. I like clipped it. I put it in the group, in our family group chat, and I was like, "Y'all enjoy that." 'Cause that's hilarious.
That should just be his handle now. That should just be his handle, Denial.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that was his thing in school. There was always the one guy teacher, the one male teacher would always be like Denial. And then in high school, that was like one of his nicknames was Denial. So it was just a perfectly timed hilarity. So his question was, do you start with cows or do you think you grow into cows?
1,000% no. Chickens is where you start.
Chickens is where you start. Okay.
Yeah, we were gonna start with chickens and goats.
Yeah,
we were gonna get our property.
I just wanted like
I
two
just
little
built the goat
goats.
shed. I just built the goat shed, man. Like that's the next thing that we're gonna grab is we got chickens and turkeys.
Yeah, because so that seemed like the reasonable to us when we were planning. When we had this all planning out, was going to be chickens and goats at first, and then maybe some rabbits because we wanted to raise some rabbits for dog food.
Yeah.
And then after that, maybe after a couple of years, like I said, introduce like maybe 2 head of cattle, something small.
A mom and a baby or something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing about cattle too is they're not cheap.
No,
they are not cheap. No,
they're not. That's why I figured with 22 acres, 2 cows maybe, and you gotta get hay in the winter and stuff, but in the summer and spring, especially in Oklahoma, you know what I mean. You got grass. I thought 2 cows on 22 acres would be about right.
Well, and if you're doing it for milk, which I mean, I don't know why else you would be doing it, but you got to milk them every day. So on top of
I was thinking beef cows.
They're fed, and they have the place to go. You got to make sure they're milked, or I mean, unless you plan on slaughter them at some point. But I mean, that's really why a cow is sort of something that you kind of, at least from what I know, and I'll tell you, like again with Owen Benjamin because he did this. Like
he's got milk cows.
Do you guys do you watch him at all? Do you watch any of his stuff?
I do not know.
I've seen a little bit of it, but not much.
He's a little bit of an acquired taste, but he's absolutely awesome if you can dig it.
But you have no problems with Owen Benjamin himself. I think he's a funny guy. I just haven't looked into too much of his.
I admire him from afar, and he's on the celebrity prayer list that I do once a month. He's not. I have nothing against the man. Absolutely zero bad words will come out of my mouth against him. He's just not. I didn't catch him when he was doing his Hollywood thing. I didn't catch him when he was doing his comedian thing. I found him on Twitter, and I think he's decent. Yeah. Keep going at it, Owen.
The problem, I think that the context that people that hear him is they're reading tweets.
Oh, I hear his voice when I read him, and I get his inflections, and I know him well enough to appreciate the tweets and stuff.
I know exactly where you're going with this though, because yes, you can't. Sarcasm doesn't come across in text.
Right.
Yeah. Without knowing him, you can't.
There's a whole lot of running jokes that if you don't watch them, you wouldn't really.
And that's the other part of it is I'm like, I'm coming into this so late in the game. I'm gonna be fucking lost. I'm gonna let y'all have your fun.
Yeah.
Well, I stumbled into him when he was on YouTube, and it was like finding a gold mine back then because he just watching him because where he's at now and what it was just hilarious watching him spiral constantly. You know what I mean? It was just comedy gold watching him go absolutely nuts. People would talk shit in the comments and he would absolutely freaking lose it.
That's what we do to Raven. Okay, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. All right. Yeah. That's what we do to Raven. We just watch him spiral and encourage it and then admonish him for spiraling.
It's funny you say that because it's sort of very similar in a way. Watching Raven now is sort of like watching him back then. Is kind of new to it, kind of learn it, and then the people in the chat kind of fucking with him, and it's similar. But my point was what I was going to say is that with him, that's where I kind of learned it from as far as the idea about jumping in on that level. That's a level up. You got to level up to that. Unless you already know what you're doing, because you can learn a lot from raising animals, right? I've learned that we're being farmed by the government.
Yeah.
If you're paying attention, if you can see what's happening, oh man, I'm telling you, the parallels are right there. It's crazy if you see it firsthand. If you have any experience with any kind of livestock or animals in any way where they're not like just your dog or cat, even that could work. But when you see what you have to do in order to control livestock on some level, like what you have to do to make sure that they're not breaking the fences, right? Then you got to keep them under control because you can't have too many, like castrating and keeping an eye on the roosters or watching the bulls. And like, this is what happens on a massive scale governmentally. Only they're manipulating you instead of telling you what to do.
This
Right?
is
You know
why
what I mean? Like they're kind of herding you into these situations to make you do things because they're farming everybody.
This is why in the 70s and 80s they shoved you all into the suburbs, and by the 90s when your parents were ready to retire, you told them to sell the farm because you were never going to go back there.
Yeah,
and it's not to have kids. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Don't have kids, live your life.
essentially
Go get
castrating
your-
animals. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
No,
Go
it's
to
funny.
college.
I'm smiling here because I earlier was thinking, I wonder if he's gonna bring it around to the government is farming us, because it's like I have had that thought before, sir. And
100%.
when talking to like a farmer, then I wonder, like, are they gonna get around to we're essentially being farmed? Because that's exactly what we're doing. And yes, by pushing this agenda of transing kids and don't get married, don't have kids young, like that's essentially castrating you like you would any barnyard animal. I'm raising beef cows; they're going to be castrated. They don't need to be having sex. I'm not breeding them.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, there's the concept as well. It's like a little complex, but like if you were, let's just say you had a cow or a bunch of cows of a particular race that got very
Aggressive
comfortable and stopped working as hard as they normally would.
right?
Like you might want to stop them from having more baby cows because they're teaching the baby cows to not be
To work
quite as
less.
productive as well, right?
Yep.
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, it's a good way to kind of understand. So, like if you can castrate or get them to maybe
modify
eat
their
something
behavior.
that makes them not want to do these things, or keep them preoccupied with something else that doesn't
Give them a
procreate,
ball to play
or,
with.
right?
Yeah.
Like, or if you just, if you can turn them gay, right? If
Yeah.
you're not going to have babies, so the parallels are there. It sounds a little extreme, but the parallels
No,
are there.
it doesn't sound extreme at all, sir. It sounds pretty normal to me.
Yeah.
If
I mean,
we didn't
that's
get
what you can
yeeted from YouTube, buckle up, guys. We about to.
see.
The whole idea of eugenics was born from animal husbandry. We did animal husbandry as a people, as a species, as a race for so long. We got so good at it. We was like, what if we do it to each other? What if we just copy paste this? Eugenics.
Right. Yeah.
Wait.
I mean, this is not the first time it's happened either. This is not new.
No, it's not new. It all got here with paperclip.
Wait,
And
are you
instead
talking
of
about
it just
eugenics?
being a one people, it became all of fucking us. Only America advertises pharmaceuticals. Like,
No,
I'm trying
New
to be
Zealand too.
extra
New
careful
Ze-
too, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand too. It's not just us.
the
They advertise pharmaceuticals too.
Haka people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look at them. They're perfectly normal people.
Yeah, the Haka people. Ugh. I don't know. I wouldn't want to. I'd be scared to ask them if I could run medicine commercials in their country. They're gonna come at me screaming and shaking their hands.
Yeah.
Run away.
Some of the dudes are tough though. The New Zealand.
They are. They're super solid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're seriously. There's some of them dudes are pretty tough.
Yeah. Some of the women are pretty tough too.
Right.
Like they not just like physically tough, but like tough because like they get their traditional tribal tattoos and stuff, and that's like stick and poke, like step below prison tattoo level stuff, and it goes like on their faces. It's crazy.
Speaking of that particular vein, so there is also bunkers being built in New Zealand as well, along with other places around the world by people that have a lot of money. So like I don't know if you know this, but like there's the people that have a lot of money are building bunkers.
Yes.
So it just further kind of, and there, to me, that's sort of the farmers in a way, right? Like, even though there's a bunch of them, like, so I'm paying attention to what these people that would be in a farmer position are doing. And I'm saying to myself,
why would you do that?
should I just not be doing anything at all?
Yeah.
Should
Right.
should I just go do a 9 to 5 and hope my 401k pays me when I can't actually work anymore?
I don't.
Or should I maybe try to find a way to produce my own food? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well, first of all, don't ever put money into a 401k. Take the
Oh,
money
I know.
take the money you would put in the 401k and invest it yourself in stocks that you choose yourself. Don't give the money to BlackRock. They don't have your best interest at heart. It's schemed against you. It's designed to never grow more than like the minuscule couple 0.5% every 5 year kind of deal. It's a scheme. Do not 401k. It is the worst thing you could do. Invest it yourself.
I've taken it out constantly just to kind of grow what we're doing in a way, like, because that, again, without having debt, that's how you can capitalize. Do I want to leave exactly what you said? Is like, do I want to leave my money with people that don't have my best interests at heart and trust that when I can't actually, like, say I'm 65, I can't really work anymore, and think that they're actually maybe going to pay me what they were supposed to pay me, even though it's actually pennies on the dollar at that point because of inflation and deflation.
Right.
So like, it doesn't matter how much money you have; it matters what you can buy with it.
Mm-hmm.
I got $1 million. Well, bread is $100 a loaf, so
Yep.
it's not as much as you might think. It's not going to go as far as you think it might be able to go. So I'm betting on myself.
Yep.
I'm taking that money and doing
That
what
sawmill
I think needs to be done.
Yep.
Right. The
Yeah.
Sawmill retains its value. Yeah.
Not to mention though, like with the 401k, when you do take it out, now you're not making any money in this 401k at that point. You're essentially just taking out what you put in, and essentially nothing more after less than 20 years. Let's be honest.
Right.
If you do the math, and the government is taking 30% of that when you cash that out. Now, if you'd have taken that money and invested it in stock, you would pay capital gains on a percentage of it if you cash it. But like, if you're wise and you look at what you own and go, okay, I can sell this at a minor loss. Well, now you're not getting taxed anything. There's zero tax coming out. Now that's all your money. And then, like I said, at the end of the year, it's going to bump your income down by however much loss you took on that. And then essentially it evens out.
100%.
So why would you put your money in a 401k that the government's going to take 30% of when you cash it out early?
And use the money that they're making off of it to hold you down, to put a boot on your neck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what they're doing. I mean, they're taking the money that you have in a 401k, and BlackRock is buying up all the houses that now your kids can't buy.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
They're funding they're funding all the food corporations that poison us.
They're the ones paying for all this DEI everywhere. They're the ones that are insisting everybody does it. And you know whose money they're withholding if you don't go ahead with their DEI?
Your own money.
Your own money.
Right.
They're holding your money back from companies, because that's all their money is. Everybody's 401k. Every 401k in the world is owned by BlackRock. That's where their money comes from. It's all from mutual fund, things like that. It's all from pools of money from investors that have no idea where their money's going. And then they use that money to control the world.
Earlier in the show, I mentioned 2 TV shows, House of Cards, and the other show was Billions. It's a Showtime show. The only reason I watched it is because my mother-in-law pays for the premium channel, and I was there all summer, and I watched all of it. Somehow watch both of those shows, and if any of this didn't make sense after watching those, it will make sense.
Yeah. I mean, these are just hard truths sometimes that people really don't like to hear because they're banking on that money is going to be there.
And
right?
And like you were saying just a minute ago, like, do you just go get the 9 to 5 and hope that it works out? I don't think we're supposed to do that. And I know that it's going to suck, and I know it's going to be uncertain, and it's, we're all doing it day by day and only have a few hours here and there to do what we, can find to do. But that's what everybody before us did. That's what they all did. We can't do that. We can't do that. We don't have the luxury of doing that, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, just if you, again, pattern recognition, right? Like, so where are we right now? Like, this is the thing that since the boomers have been doing, where it's, just print more money and 401ks and
refinance the house, pull out an equity loan, get another credit card.
Time for them to die. We're going to get stuck with the fucking bill.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? So, and I don't think we can push this much further down the road. I don't think this can get kicked much further. It's just, I don't see how it's possible. Maybe for a little bit longer, maybe sometime. I would love to be wrong. Like, that's the thing, is that like, I would just love to be wrong and just see things continue as somewhat normal. And we don't have to worry about existential threats because, like, the money's not worth anything anymore. Right.
Right.
But I mean, the fact is that like how trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars have been printed, and it just makes all of the other money worth less. So, and the prices are now going up.
Right.
What does that mean when you're paying attention to it? Is that you're getting screwed. And if you leave your money in that, so it's called currency, right? Because it's meant to
circulate,
continue. They don't want you to keep it in a bank.
Right.
They don't want you to keep it in a bank. So you take the money, buy an asset with it, file an LLC, and you get to keep that.
Yeah. You know, it's
you know what I mean?
It's funny. I've mentioned it. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on this show before. I've mentioned it on a show before. I'm pretty sure it was ours. You know, so back in 1912, you could buy your average house in America, which was $6,000 with 12 gold bars. Today in the United States, you can buy your average house, which is around $400,000 with the exact same 12 gold bars. It's the price of things has not changed. It's the currency is just worthless.
Right.
If you price everything out in ounces or grams of gold, it still equals what it equaled in the 1920s.
I mean, I think it's written in some form that I can't quote properly, but I mean, that is literally real money, and according to the Bible. You know what I mean? Like the gold and the silver is actual money, and we have it written in the Constitution that is supposed to be our money.
The currency,
right?
Yeah.
It says all debt should be paid with. It's not these dollars, these fiat dollars that we have now.
No,
that are nothing. They mean nothing.
It's monopoly money.
As long as cohesively people believe that it has value, it will have value just as much as a maple leaf might have value if we chose to attribute that to it. It's the same thing as dollars right now.
Yep.
It's not literally worth anything, but because people attribute that they can get something for it, it holds value to them.
Yeah.
But that fallacy can only happen for so long.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I laugh at like all the Bitcoin bros all the time, because Bitcoin is the exact same thing. It's only worth anything because people assign a value to it. And
Right.
two, when the grid goes down, what good is your Bitcoin, buddy? Like you really think you're banking, you're saving, you're building up a thing for the end of the world, and it's Bitcoin that you aren't going to be able to access because there's going to be no damn power or no computers. Like take that Bitcoin money and buy physical gold. Buy physical gold and put it in a safe. Buy a safe.
I mean,
that's the other thing. Form an LLC and buy a safe. Those are two things every adult man should do.
I mean, it's better than it's better than what we've been told to do, right?
Yeah.
Because I have boomer aunts that are always like, save your money, and I'm like, for what? What do we say? Like I'm going to put away $100 and buy $5 worth of stuff when I go to get it out in 5 years, right? Like,
right.
I mean, because that's all that it's literally going to be able to buy if we continue down this road. What am I saving it for?
Right.
I don't understand it's apples and oranges now. I don't understand why some of these older folks don't really get it, because they've already lived most of their lives playing this game. And I don't know that the game can continue to be played much longer.
Well, the game was great in their day. That's the thing. If you played the game, if you just played the game, you were solid back in their day.
Yeah.
You had it. You were gold. And they just think it keeps that way. Like my mom's that way. Bless her heart. She's a wonderful woman. I love my mother. But she does not understand how the world works these days.
No.
Like I remember when my cousin Sarah graduated college, and my mom couldn't figure out how this girl couldn't afford certain things like a new car and a house on her $50,000 a year salary. And I'm like, Mom, do you realize like your average car is nowadays, like, if you're going to not even nice, just a new car, a new Honda, is a $600 a month car payment nowadays. They're not cheap. They're $30,000 cars. And then you look at your average rent in a place where we live. It was like $2,000 a month. So you think she has $2,600 just in house and car, making $50,000 a year? What is she
going to eat? How is she going to have lights?
That's her money after taxes. That $2,600 is her paychecks. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Yep. Paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
That's the best that most people can hope for at this point is paycheck to paycheck. Can I get my bill paid this week? That's the best that most people can hope for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I grew up.
And not to mention, on top of that car and rent stuff, she got student loan payments to make. You know what I mean?
She got that degree to get.
Yeah, because she got that degree to make $50,000 a year. Like, are you kidding me?
That's a whole other scam too. Everyone that said, you got to go to college to be something. I mean,
I'm an engineer and I never went to college, bud.
Well, that's my point. Is that and then what are you going for?
Right. Exactly.
underwater basket weaving is always a funny punchline, but I mean, that's an actual freaking thing that people pay to go do.
Yeah.
What do you gonna make from that? You know what I mean?
Art history. I'm an art history major. Like, great, cool. So
That's
you're
a hobby.
$200,000 in debt and you have no job prospects.
That's a hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say the value of whatever you perceive to be money, its root comes from your labor.
Yes.
So like what you do, what you produce, that's where the value is actually at.
Yep.
So work. Well, there's a famous line that like I heard a while ago, and I wish I could quote the person that I heard, but like what I'm trying to do and how I see it, and as I work my way through it, it's like the work will set you free. Chasing money and acting like that you will sacrifice everything to get after this is just, it's the Faustian deal. It's Satan's deal. This is what will trap you, because you'll be chasing worthless money your entire life, and you won't have kids, you won't have a family, and you won't be getting along with anybody, and you won't be trustworthy because you put money over everything. I mean, I have to work with people like this all the time. They're constantly worried about money. And I'm like, I mean, I get what you're trying to do, but like you're attributing value to a thing that you really shouldn't be, and you're putting so much below it that you don't even understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
And,
you're inhibiting yourself from having the money because you're not paying attention to anything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's people selling their souls for worthless cash.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll be completely honest with you, but that's one of the things that really led me back to the Lord. Was like I got to a point where I thought I had all the things everybody wanted, and like I was comfortable. You know what I mean? I was at the point where I wasn't worried about money. I had some toys. And it all seems so meaningless when you finally achieve that spot where you think you want to get, and it always just feels meaningless. You know what I mean?
I told you I lived another life, and there was a point when I did a lot of very reckless, stupid things.
You guys probably would have hung out.
Yeah, no, I had that part. I had that part of my life too before I reached success. I had plenty of failure and plenty of dumb. I should be in jail.
You're just chasing money, money, and when you finally get it, it's stacked up to the ceiling. And you know what? It's okay, great, but like you don't even. There's, like I said, the labor thing. So like you didn't really work your ass off for it. So it doesn't really mean what it should mean if you did work your ass off to get it. You know? It comes in super easy, and then you just blow it on bullshit, and it's like, you know, it's a trap. It's a trap. Chasing money is a trap. Like, you know what I mean? It's not what people think it is. And I constantly hear young dudes in particular thinking that that's the answer to everything. It's like just to get more money, that then you're gonna be able to finally find that wife. Or the, you know, whatever everyone wants their supermodel wife, or like, you know, they want to live in the cul-de-sac and have the newest car or whatever the case is. Like they have these ideas in their head, and I'm like, you're retarded. You're chasing shit that you don't really need to be happy, and you know.
Yeah, no,
spend their whole life doing it.
Yeah, I've been there, did that, and every time you get that thing that you wanted, now it's this other thing you want, and you get that one, and then it's this other thing you want, and then, you know, eventually you get enough stuff, and none of it makes you happy. You know, you're just like, it's
what
just.
What did you do to get it? That's really what I kind of base it.
Money's one thing.
What did you do to get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you do to get it?
How many hours of your life did you trade away for it, or what kind of shady shit did you have to do for it? You know what I mean? Either way, it's your time is better spent otherwise, but it's like it leaves this mark on you. You know what I mean? Either way, either you have that guilt of the sin you committed to get it the easy way, or you missed out on a lot that you should have been doing because you earned it the right. You know what I mean? Like, either way, it comes with regret. You know.
That 30 pieces, those shekels, is a real thing. It takes different forms, you know. Like you could sell your soul for just about anything if you're not paying attention.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Slowly
but surely.
Man, that got dark.
No, not really.
No.
While you guys were talking about it, I was just deeply appreciative that I don't have to do that anymore. That I instead, like, I do the housewife thing, which also includes outside the house. Like, I keep up with the yard. I have my little garden. I'm learning how to like grow food that we can eat. So far, all I can grow successfully is pumpkins. I'm cooking them this year, so we're progress. But it's just, and that's where I found myself after the pandemic and the lockdowns and all that shit. I worked at Wawa at the time on overnight shift, and that took every bit of anything I had left in me to work for other people. I left it when I left Wawa. I
Right.
can't do it no more. Not only like is it I got better things to do with my time, but I really learned the value of like, this 14 to what was it, like $16 I think when I left an
Yeah.
hour. Like this ain't fucking worth it. I will find how to spend 16 less dollars an hour. I will figure that out before I do this
Li-
again.
You live within your means and you'll be fine. Like that's all there is to it. Like you
Yes.
don't, I mean, no one has to be rich. Plus there's the finding peace of the whole thing in my book anyway, is that like I find so much peace when I'm on my property working, even when I'm
Yeah.
sweating my ass off. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure if like you're tending to your garden or your pumpkins or what have you, whatever it is that you're doing, it's like that's where I find my peace.
Yep.
Like, it's not fun to be out doing the rat race thing. Like
Nah.
for what? It's just not. There's no fun in that.
Yeah.
Then you can't wait to get home and just sit down, and it's like we got to do it again tomorrow.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
then you
that's-
just hop back on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, that's me. That's
Right.
me with fishing. That's my happy place. That's where I'm closest to God. It's just standing in a river in waders in the fall with a fly rod in your hand. There's just, you know what I mean? It's just heaven to me.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
I do some fishing. I don't have time as much as I used to be able to, but hunting,
Yeah.
I think I've been getting back into, because with the land, there's a lot of animals running around up
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So like there's a really massive buck I seen a few years ago that it still kind of haunts me that I didn't shoot him when I had the chance. I seen him. I seen this bastard. He was, massive, dude. Like the biggest whitetail I had seen in years. And
I mean,
he walked off one day and I never seen him again.
Oh.
well, good news.
Sucks.
They don't. I mean, they have a little bit bigger radius than the does do, but they only go about 5 miles, so he might come back. Plant some
When they
clover.
get into their heat, they book. Like there's no telling where they go. Like when they start, and it's called a rut.
Oh,
like their
yeah,
necks
they
get
go-
gone. Like they smell a doe and they'll chase her forever.
Oh.
And he's like, I just live here now.
Oh man. Well, it's been an hour and 45 minutes. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or?
No, I didn't even realize it's been that long.
Yeah.
Would've,
I know you said you didn't have a whole lot of free time. That's why I thought I'd point that out. Like,
yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
been an excellent conversation, sir. We have really enjoyed this.
Okay, cool.
If you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome to. I know that the near future is going to be
Yeah, I
a
know.
lot of downtime
know-
recovery.
I know a lot of people would probably like to get a update on Hope and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe sometime after surgeries and things have calmed down a little bit, you'd like to come back
Yeah.
on. I'm sure, like I said, everybody's really going to want to know that everything's okay.
Pennsylvania.
So,
Right. 100%. I'm down. I don't. If you guys, especially if you need like a fill-in spot or something, somebody you want, call me, or get at me on a DM or something. And I'll come hang out whenever. It's not a big deal.
Perfect.
We got about a
Awesome.
week or two of who knows what, but what I'll try to do is put some updates on my YouTube and X, so that people that actually tried to help will get some updates.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
And then also a reminder to everybody watching this video on Rumble, the links are in the description. If you don't know where that is, you'll see something underneath the video and it'll say read more. You're going to click that read more. And then in there's some links that you can click. You can go find Stacks on YouTube. You can find the Give, Send, Go link. And at the very least, you can say a prayer on Monday for Hope's surgical team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's most important right there. That's most important.
Yeah. So, well, it has been an absolute pleasure, sir. And we will definitely have you back on. I'm sure we still have a whole lot more to talk about.
Okay, buddy. It's good to talk to you, man.
Yeah, you too. You have an excellent night, sir.
You too.
Yep.
Thank
Bye.
you. God bless.